Hello everybody, my name is Diana Costilla. Today my classmates and I are going to talk about traditional American values and beliefs. Before to start with the topic, there are some typical questions that many people have asked themselves but didn't know the answer for it. For example, why do so many people want to come and live in the United States? Or what is so attractive about the American way of life and the values of the society? These questions or another doubt that you have will be answered throughout all the presentations. So let's start. Introduction. The context of traditional American values, racial, ethnic, religions, and cultural diversity. From the beginning of the history of the United States, there has been diversity. Here you can look at this picture to have a better comprehension of it. There had been Native Americans throughout the North American continent, Spanish settlers, French, Dutch, Germans, and the British colonists whose culture eventually provided the language and the political and economic system in the United States. Most early Americans recognized this diversity or pluralism as a fact of life, even if some people were not enthusiastic about it. Introduction. The context of traditional American values, racial, ethnic, religions, and cultural diversity. From the beginning of the history of the United States, there has been diversity. Here you can look at this picture to have a better comprehension of it. There had been Native Americans throughout the North American continent, Spanish settlers, French, Dutch, Germans, and the British colonists whose culture eventually provided the language and the political and economic system in the United States. Most early Americans recognized this diversity or pluralism as a fact of life, even if some people were not enthusiastic about it. Historically, the United States has been viewed as the land of opportunity, attracting millions of immigrants from all over the world. The opportunities they believed they could find in America and the experiences that most people actually had when they arrived nurtured a unique set of values. Three percent traditional reasons why immigrants had been drawn to America: the chance for individual freedom, equality of opportunity, and material wealth. Of course, in order to achieve these benefits, there were prices to be paid: self-reliance, competitions, and hard work. In time, these prices themselves become part of the traditional value system, so they were known as individual freedom and self-reliance, equality of opportunity and competitions, material wealth, and hard work. These three pairs of values have determined the unique culture of the United States and its people.
The earliest settlers came to the North American continent to establish colonies. They were basically running away from the controls that existed in European societies. They wanted to escape the controls placed on many aspects of their lives by kings and governments, priests and churches, noblemen and aristocrats. In 1776, the British colonial settlers declared their independence from England and established a new nation, the United States of America. Hello everyone, my name is Franco Varela and I am going to talk about individual freedom and self-reliance. Individual freedom and self-reliance. The United States is associated with the concept of individual freedom. This is probably the most basic of all the American values. Scholars often call this value individualism, but many other Americans use the word freedom. There is, however, a cause for this benefit. Self-reliance. It means that individuals must learn to rely on themselves or risk losing freedom. Americans believe that they should take care of themselves, solve their own problems, and stand on their own 2 feet. Self-reliance has to do with achieving financial and emotional independence from their parents as soon as possible. This is kind of like a tradition for people by age 18 or 21. They believe that they should be reliant to keep their own freedom. If they rely too much on the support of their family or the government or any organization, they may lose some of their freedom to do what they want. Even if they are not truly self-reliant, most Americans believe they must at least appear to be so. But why? This is because they pretend to be the mainstream of American life. So, to have power and respect, individuals must be seen as self-reliant.
How's Dad today?
Not too good, Lisa. Frankly, he's underneath the table.
Nobody make me any breakfast. A man so deeply in debt doesn't deserve it.
But I like to make you breakfast.
Well, in that case, I'll just have French toast with double butter and a side of bacon. But no powdered sugar, I don't deserve it. Maybe a little powdered sugar.
Hello everybody, I'm Esmeralda Medina and I'm going to talk about the second important reason why immigrants come to the United States. I use those images to explain you the value and its price. I'm an American too, while this image shows us people from different countries. They are immigrants, and we know that the general term to refer to them is Americans. They make their best effort to take part in society, and they have come to the United States with the expectation that everyone has a chance to succeed here. That's why I use this image. The other image shows us 2 people who are in a competition, and as we can see it, they have the same objective, to win. But one of them have more advantages than the other, while all those people who come from different social conditions have the opportunity to compete. Now pay attention to the images, because they have different meanings. Equality of opportunity means that everyone has a chance to be successful because they are free from social controls, they are free from the power of the king, church, or any authority, and also the title of nobility are forbidden in the Constitution. No formal class system develops in the United States, which means that there is a lack of hereditary aristocracy. Well, all social classes have the same opportunity. We saw in the first unit that immigrants come from different cultures, religions, and places. They leave their old country, the country in which they were born, because they know that in America they wouldn't have to live among noble families, where the place in life was determined by their social class. For example, a person who comes from a poor condition or who belongs to a lower class has the opportunity to be successful. This value is associated with the concept of a fair play. While it may be thought as an ethnical rule, it helps ensure that the race for success is a fair one and that the person doesn't win just because she or he was born in a healthy family or lost because of race or religion. Americans don't mean that everyone is equal. American mean that everyone should have an equal chance to enter the race and win. Well, I use this image because I like it, and I think that equality of opportunity means to give everybody what he needs to be successful, and not to give everybody the same thing, because there are people who need more help or opportunities than others. So, for me, Americans need equity, an equal chance to enter the race and win. Alexis de Tocqueville and Abraham Lincoln. They are very significant persons that the book mentioned, that this unit mentioned, so I want to share with you two quotes. Equality of condition is the fundamental fact from which all others seem to be derived. To allow the humblest man an equal chance to get rich with anybody else. Well, they focused on the importance of traditional American values and beliefs for Americans. At the beginning of the presentation, I told you that competition was the price to be paid for this equality of opportunity. A person has the responsibility to compete with others. It means that there is a pressure of competition in life of an American. Now pay attention to the images. You can observe that there are 3 children who win a medal or a recognition. And there are also different types of sports. Well, I choose this image of children because this pressure of competition starts in childhood and continues until retirement from work. It's part of growing up in United States. This competition is also encouraged by competitive sports, which were popular for both men and women. Everybody has the responsibility to compete with others, and we know that not everyone will be successful. Well, those persons who compete well win honor, respect, and prestige in society, so they fit into the mainstream of American life. The mainstream of American life refers to the primary or dominant tendency which is widely accepted. On the other hand, those people who don't compete well don't have much respect or prestige. For example, old people. They feel useless and unwanted in society because they don't fit into the mainstream of American life. Now I invite you to think about this value. Do you think that there is equality of opportunities in our country? Have you ever tried to take part in a competition or anything else and you weren't allowed? Now look at the image. Did you recognize this movie? What's your opinion about it? Are there common themes related to this unit? Well, at the end of the presentation you can post your answers. Thanks.
I am Emilio Correa. I am going to talk about the third traditional American value, material wealth and hard work. The third reason why immigrants have traditionally come to the United States is to raise their standard of living. This was probably the most compelling reason for leaving their homeland. Because of its incredibly abundant natural resources, the United States appeared to be the land where millions could come to seek their fortunes. Most immigrants did not get rich overnight, and many of them suffered terribly, but the majority were eventually able to improve their former standard of living. Even if they were not able to achieve the economic success they wanted, they could be fairly certain that their children would have the opportunity for a better life. The phrase "going from rags to riches" became a slogan for the American dream. Because of the vast riches of the North American continent, the dream came true for many of the immigrants. They achieved material success, and many became very attached to material things. So, material wealth became a value to the American people. Placing a high value on material possessions is called materialism, but to say that a person is materialistic is an insult. They feel accused of loving only material things and of having no religious values. Nevertheless, acquiring and maintaining a large number of material possessions is still of great importance to most Americans. The reason is that material wealth has been a widely accepted measure of social status in the United States. Because Americans rejected the European system of hereditary aristocracy and titles of nobility, they had to find a substitute for judging social status, and material possessions became an accepted measure of success and social status. Americans have paid the price for their material wealth, hard work. The North American continent was rich in natural resources when the first settlers arrived, but all these resources were undeveloped. Only by hard work could they be converted into material possessions. People came to see them as the natural reward for their hard work. In some ways, material possessions were seen not only as tangible evidence of people's work, but also of their abilities. In the late 1700s, James Madison, the father of the American Constitution, stated that the difference in material possessions reflected the difference in personal abilities. Most Americans still believe in the value of hard work, and that people should hold jobs and not live off welfare payments from the government. But as the United States has shifted from an industry-based economy to one that is service or information-based, there has been a decline in high-payment jobs for factory workers. Now it is much more difficult for workers to go from rags to riches in the United States. Also, as the United States competes internationally, many workers are losing their jobs and finding that they and their family members must now work longer hours for less money and fewer benefits. So those who work hard have low-payment jobs that do not provide a decent standard of living, and many have to rely on some outside assistance from the government or other sources.
My name is Karina Cabrera, and I'm going to make a conclusion about this topic. And I'd like to begin with a question. What does the phrase "the American dream" mean to you? The American dream does not mean that people can go from a very poor life and then get rich overnight. Many Americans believe that with hard work their dreams of success can happen. So they believe that if they work hard, they can raise their standard of living and maybe even get rich. Parents need to work hard to looking for ways to have a better life when children grow up. Americans are so convinced that personal attributes are the biggest influences of their economy mobility, whether they work hard, whether they are ambitious, whether they do the things they need to do, they are very confident that those efforts will have their just rewards. Understanding the relationship between what Americans believe and how they live, it's important to distinguish between idealism and reality, that American values such as equality of opportunity and self-reliance are ideals which don't describe the reality of American life because it's not always put into practice. And although there are laws designed to promote equality of opportunity for all individuals, some people have a better chance for success than others. To illustrate this point, people who are born in rich families have more opportunities than those who are born into poor families. So American dream is not shared equally among all people. Race, gender, and new immigrants are factors affecting success. But although Americans' ideals are not always performed in real life, they are very important for people and they still believe in them. The American values are the basic structure of the American culture and are closely connected to the American dream. So it's important to consider two things about these values. First, these cultural values are the cultural engine which has allowed the United States to become a country that can receive immigrants from all over the world with all kinds of customs, values, and ideas and make them into Americans and create a national identity. Secondly, all six values are important. They all together are a system of values, so they function together to create the fabric of the American society. They are interwoven, they are related to each other, and if any of them is pulled out, the entire fabric is affected. To sum up, it is this fabric of cultural values that has defined who Americans are, so the strong belief is that people take responsibility for their lives and work hard, they will have the individual freedom to follow their personal goals with a good opportunity to compete for success.